Welcome to the Literary License Podcast, Kings of Horror episodes, where we dive down into famous horror writers and their movie counterparts. With your co-hosts Vicky Ray, Leandro Ghazi, and Keith Shago, reading horror and watching films and discussing in full bloody detail. Literary License Podcast is a Kings of Horror book to screen, and we'll be covering Battle Royale by the Japanese author Koushun Takami, and the film from 2000. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us. We got Vicky Ray with us. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Leandro Ghazi. Hello, Leandro.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And Craig Johnson. Hello, Craig.
Hello.
And I'm your host, Keith Shago. Before we get started, let's find out what we've been up to. We'll start off with you, Leandro. What have you been up to since last time we've seen you?
It was my birthday last month. I don't know if we so I have been working, carry on with allotment, basically just that, working, reading, and the same old stuff.
And what about yourself, Craig? What have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
Same old. I'm in talks with a cafe garden for a art exhibition for me and David. That's going to come up soon. It'll either be like late summer or maybe possibly the autumn. I'm watching the Doctor Who double bill. I'm watching the 1960s movies on Sunday with David at the Phoenix Cinema in East Finchley.
The Peter Cushing ones, is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. Classic.
Yeah, those are the originals, right?
Yeah.
Well, the original movies, not the original
The movies,
series.
okay.
Yeah. And what about yourself, Vix? What have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
Not much. Finished watching Stranger Things. I didn't finish it. I guess we'll have another season. At least I hope we do, because I didn't like how they left it. I loved how they ended it, but I want more. Just doing my typical. Been watching a lot of old Hammer movies and Amicus movies and stuff like that. Kind of so tired of all the regular news stuff. And between that and the news, I do whatever I can to avoid it now. So I've been watching a lot of old movies, Bela Lugosi, kind of stuff like that. Taking care of my doggos and the fam, and trying to stay cool. It's really freaking hot here in Texas today. And just fixing to go home to the fast city of Watertown, New York in a day or two. So I will make sure I tell everybody that you said hi, Keith.
Yeah, tell my sister hi. I'm so popular there. They love me.
Hey, they probably don't love me, so I can tell you that.
No, they fucking hate me, but I don't care. I'm the bastard that left.
Yeah, well, same here. I'm the black sheep as well. Don't feel alone.
Better to be a black sheep in Watertown than be part of the popular.
Yeah. But I was finishing watching Up the Boys. I think I'm up to episode 7. We got like 8 or 10. I hope they have 10.
I saw
because the last 2 episodes, I'm up to 7. I think 8's on tonight here in the States. Getting wicked good. I know you didn't watch it, so wait till you find out. Woo, there's a couple good things going on. Huh?
Someone made me watch the first opening scenes of season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is vile. It's disgusting. It's offensive, and I totally love it. It's just freaking great. I just love it. I don't care who you are or what your politics are. It's just damn funny stuff. I don't care. They pick on everybody, and it's just great. You know, they were even calling out people like Lindsey Graham on it. You know, the senator from Georgia here in the States, and I was dying because you know how they got, what is it? What's the company? What's that company? Vought Industries in the series. Yeah. And they're making it look like all of these people who are actually alive this season are kind of involved in it, even the present government. So I'm like dying because it would be so doable if this wasn't, sci-fi. It's just funny as shit. It's great this week. You guys will love it. That's all I can say. Still have not gone and watched Jurassic Park or Maverick. So I haven't gotten there yet. I'll just wait for it to stream.
I watched Jurassic Park. Was cool.
Did you like it?
Yeah. Was really cool.
Well, I've been up to work, and more work. The NHS is going under, so we're 40 million in debt in our hospital. Yay.
Oh my God, what's going on with you?
Oh, thanks.
I don't know. Everyone's leaving. It's probably one of the worst places to work. And I'm sorry if people from Rural Free are listening to it, but you guys are all cut.
My daughter keeps wanting to be a traveling nurse. Maybe I should tell her to avoid England.
Yeah, avoid England at the moment. It's going
The Prime
downhill.
Minister list as well now.
I've been watching your news. I'm glad we're not the only on the nitwits.
Yeah, no, our prime minister is gone, and half the government's gone, so they've all been fired.
We only dream of that over here. It's not fair.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like, they're just going to replace him with another idiot. That's the problem.
You
So
might
it's
be
like,
surprised. You might be pleasantly surprised. You
no.
Well, today at work, the people were celebrating, and I was thinking, okay, I would celebrate if I know who is coming, but no one knows who is coming, so probably...
No one knows.
What are they
You have
just going to
another
pick it
idiot
out of a
probably-
hat? Give somebody the prime minister job?
Well, I mean, the problem is in England, I think that when it comes to government anyway, they need to kind of like blow it up and start over, because all the MPs are just horrible. No one can name one good MP. That's the problem. And it doesn't matter if it's Labour, Conservatives, Liberals, or anything. There's just not one decent person amongst them all, and it's
There
and to be
has to
honest,
be. There's a few good ones even over here. There has to be some decent people.
no, because the thing is, at the end of the day, it's not about the people. At the end of the day, our government, we don't produce anything. It's all about trading money. So if your industry is trading money, that means you are owned by corporations and banks. So we're kind of screwed in a certain way. But I mean, it is what it is.
Bring back Nigel Farage.
Well, yeah,
No, what's that fucking idiot?
he was an idiot as well. So
I think he's a riot. He's always on the news over here now. I think he's funny as hell. I don't know if I'd want him in the country, but he's funny.
Well, he's just an idiot. He makes up stuff as well. I mean, that's the problem. They just make stuff up, and then it's just like. Ugh.
But is he your version of Alex Jones?
No, he's like our version. He's like our version of Biden. So, so he's not very bright either. But
life is good. We're going to survive, everybody.
But outside of that, I've been watching Selling Sunset. I'm really addicted to that show. So
what is it?
Selling Sunset on Netflix.
I've never seen that one. I haven't seen it come through yet. Anyway.
Oh, it's like the best of Real Housewives and the best of Real Estate Program and the best of fashion. So you kind of all get into this thing, and the drama's brilliant.
Oh God, I've got one for you on Netflix that my daughter made me watch. She told me I love it. It's about snowflakes, and they take them out. They take them out into the wilderness.
Yeah, Snowflake Mountain. I saw that.
And it's like these people can't be real. But they are. I think some of them are pretty damn cool, though. They're actually pretty funny and making the best of it, though. I think it's a hoot.
Before we start, I needed to give a shout out to Mercury winner and Brits Award winner Rina Sawanya. She's got a new album coming out on the 2nd of September. She's donated one of her songs for her closing credits. And if you want to know any more information about a new album coming out 2nd September, that will be in our next month's newsletter, and she will be advertising on our website.
Yeah, so, she's got a very nice voice. Very nice voice.
Yeah, she's excellent. So, so thank you for reaching out to us. Yay. Well, that brings us to Battle Royale, the novel, which is the first novel by Japanese author Koushun Takami. Originally completed in 1996, it was not published until 1999. The story tells of a junior high school student who are forced to fight each other to the death in a program run by a fictional, fascist, totalitarian Japanese government known as the Republic of Greater East Asia.
Freudian slip.
The dystopian novel was previously entered into the 1997 Japan Horror Fiction Award, was eventually rejected in the final round due to concerns over its depictions of students killing each other. Upon publication in 1999, the novel became a surprise bestseller, outselling even the Bible. In 2000, 1 year after publication, Battle Royale was adapted to a manga series written by Takami himself and a feature film. The film was both controversial and successful, becoming one of the year's highest grossing films of all time, as well as promoting condemnation by Japan's national diet. The film spawned a sequel, and 2 more brief manga adaptations were also created. So what we're going to do is cut to the synopsis of Battle Royale and be right back.
Hello everyone, today I'm giving you a synopsis for the Battle Royale by the Japanese author Koushun Takami. Battle Royale takes place in a fictional fascist Japan in the year 1997. The state known as the Republic of Greater East Asia rose after an alternate World War II, where Japan emerged victorious and a rebellion was put down by the combined military and police forces. The government controls everything, and anything immoral, such as rock music, is banned. Alice beautifies the government, along with an unnamed dictator with a strong cult of personality able to bend the whims of the populace. The government has established a military program, the Battle Experiment number 68, wherein 50 randomly selected classes of third-year junior high school students are kidnapped, dropped into a remote location, and forced to kill one another, until only one student of each class remains. Ostensibly, it is to help the government and its military research survival skills and battle readiness. In actuality, it is meant to instill terror and distrust in all of Japanese citizens to curb any attempt at rebellion by showcasing the government's power and ability to target citizens' families and preying on the fear of being killed by a friend. A group of students from Shirowa Junior High School, a junior high school in the fictional Kagawa Prefecture town of Shirowa, prepare for a field trip. Among them are wannabe rock star Shoya Nanahara, whose father was killed by the regime, Noriko Nakagawa, the Timor crush of Shoya's best friend, Shogo Kawada, a quiet, tall, young transfer student, and psychopathic prodigy Kazuo Kiriyama. En route, the guest, the field trip was a rose for the program. The week in a classroom on a small, vacated island, surrounded by tropes and wearing metal collars around their necks. A teacher, psychopathic sadist Ikipatsu Sakamochi, briefs the student. The class has been chosen to participate in the program. The students are also given a time limit. If 24 hours pass without someone being killed, then all of the colors will be detonated simultaneously and there will be no winner. It is mentioned that only 0.05% of programs end in this fashion. The students are issued survival packs and a random weapon and sent out into the island one by one, while most of the students receive guns and knives. Some acquire relatively useless items like bomb ranges, that borrowed darts, or a fork. Hiroki Soshimura finds a radar device that tracks by student, and Toshinori Oda receives a bulletproof vest. To make sure the students obey the rules and kill each other, the metal collars around their necks track their positions and will explode if they attempt to remove the collars or linger in forbidden zones. Randomly chosen areas of the map that increase in number over time, sculpting and shrinking battlefield and forcing the student to move around. The colors secretly transmit sound back to the organizers of the game, allowing them to hear the students' conversations, route out escape plans, and log their activities. The students desperately fight amongst each other for survival, with mentally ill bullies Mitsuko, Soma, and Kiriyama killing many. Shoya takes Noriko under his wing after his best friend is killed, believing that he has a duty to honor his fallen friend by protecting his crush. Shugo, who was in a previous battle royale and hopes to put an end to the program, avoids fighting. Joining the Shoya's friend athlete Shinji Minora attempts to hack the system running the program and bomb the building where Sakamochi and the other personnel overseeing the program are stationed, but is killed by Kiriyama. Eventually, halfway through the third day, only Shugo, Shoya, Noriko, and Kiriyama remain, with Kiriyama dead set on hunting down the trio. After a frantic car chase, Kiriyama is finally gunned down, but Nanahara and Nakagawa are held at gunpoint by Shugo, who tells them over being so naive as to trust anyone in the program. The callers record gunshots and Shuya and Noriko flatlining. Declared the winner by Sakamochi, Shugo is escorted to his transport off the island, surrounded by soldiers. Sakamochi, however, vowed that he knows Nanahara and Nakagawa are alive and that his supposed execution of Noriko and Shoya was arose after he found a way to disable their callers and attempts to kill Shugo. Shugo kills him as a head. Nanahara and Nakagawa hijack the ship and kill the soldiers on board. As the boat sails toward the mainland, Shugo succumbs to his wounds sustained during the fight with Kiriyama and dies, but not before thanking Shoya and Noriko for being his friends. On the advice of Shugo, Shoya and Noriko escape to the mainland and plan to escape to the democratic America pursued by the government. This was the synopsis of Battle Royale by Koushun Takami. Now back to the show.
Hello, welcome back to Literature Lessons Podcast. We're discussing Battle Royale, the Japanese novel by Koushun Takami. So, Leandro, what are your thoughts about Battle Royale?
Well, even though it's a really fat book, like a Bible, I really enjoy it. I like
think?
it. Yes. It's really easy to read. I like it because the chapters are not really, really long. And then it's like, for me, every time I was reading, it's like a countdown. Every chapter is like a countdown.
Yeah, like how many students are left? Yeah.
Exactly. And even that is like, you will see like, okay, there are 4, then they start to like go down, and it literally telling you like 38 are remaining. So it's really cool. As we have chatted before, well, Vicky mentioned that it's really hard because of the names. I didn't pay attention to the names because I'm really bad with names, so I just concentrate on reading and understanding.
I put a little list, and I tried to keep it straight. You know,
no, I don't work like that. So I just read it, and then that's all. And actually, the movie just won winner, so that was the point of remember 43.
Yeah.
What about yours? I mean, as far as the characters are concerned, I mean, the characters are quite faceless anyway. And to be honest, the reason being is because of basically the government's bringing these students to murder.
Well, they don't really give you the author doesn't really give you a chance to vest in his characters, really.
Well, the problem is that basically this government does this once a year to frighten their, basically so that you don't question them. Because if you question them, they will put you to death. Basically, we're living in a dictatorship, a fascist society. So to give all these people names means that you're giving them a face. And the thing is, they're not fighting there for a cause. To the government, they are just faceless people who are being killed for a way to demonstrate that basically that you do not question us. Because as you go through the book, you find out that some of their parents have gone missing, or their uncles gone missing, or people just end up dead in this fascist society. And I guess you could probably bring it along to like Nicaragua back in the 70s and 80s, and Guatemala and all those kind of things, or even in some Middle Eastern countries or some African countries as well, when they had fascist dictatorships. Even in Mussolini in Italy, and even with Hitler and Nazi Germany, I mean, some of the people would just disappear. If you question,
that happens all the time still over here.
Yeah, it happens to celebrity. It happens to celebrities that we don't like. We cancel them and we never hear from them again. So,
or if you hang out with the Clintons.
God forbid if you sleep with Clinton, you never heard from him again.
Hey, I want to say one thing before I forget, and I know that I talked to Keith about this. When you guys read this, I read articles on this, and they say that the author of The Hunger Games did not swipe this story, but there's no way she did not swipe this story. Yeah. Even if she's listening, there's no way.
She definitely. Suzanne, you stole it. You stole it, Suzanne.
You stole it.
And it's because of you we got that.
I was watching some videos and stuff, because sometimes that helps me figure, get through a book or something if I hear somebody else's take on it. And they were talking about it, and they say, no, she couldn't have possibly done that. That would not have been, what's the word, ethical. And all that. I'm just like, I still say she stole the
I mean,
she
the
might
problem
not have stole it, but she got a lot of it.
I mean, the thing is that her book comes out 15 years later after the movie and this, and the movie was a huge hit, especially in England. I mean, this movie was #1 hit for a while, so which we'll get into the movie later. So, Craig, what are your thoughts of Battle Royale?
It was a big fat dossier of death.
It was.
It felt like I was reading like a computer game. I preferred the writing style from Let the Right One In. It was really well detailed and easy to follow, and I just like every episode, every chapter, the countdown went down, and you could count who died, sort of thing, and it just felt very. It was good though, and it made me think of like what you were saying just then, Keith, and of the Ukraine, because at one point, these kids are kidnapped by the government to take part in this radical regime, and it just made me think of the Ukraine, where like one night, they could have been having a nice art exhibition in the local community, and then overnight Moscow's firing missiles at residential areas, and people are going missing.
He wants to start firing them in Alaska too.
Alaska's next,
families are fighting, and uncles are going missing, things like that. So it kind of made me think of that as well. But in terms of the book, I enjoyed it. It's a good read.
Did you guys think it kind of invaded your comfort zone a little bit? Because nothing is really as unattractive as children being forced to kill each other.
Well, I mean, another thing is that they don't really go into ages. They tell you the grade, but their ages are between 14 and 15 years old.
And 50?
14 and 15.
Oh, I was going to say, because I'm thinking of the movie too, but some of the main characters in the movie, like the main character, I can't pronounce his name, the good guy.
Nanahara.
Yeah, but he looked older than a teenager.
Well, I mean, of course, when you do movies, you kind of have to make them a bit older.
But they were all, but the characters, though, in the book seemed awfully mature. But I guess one would have to mature very quickly if one is thrown into a 72-hour nightmare on a deserted island.
Well, the thing is, they're not really that mature, because if you look at their versions of like what love is, it's a very childlike version of what love is. You're like, oh, I love him because he plays music, and oh, I love him.
It's all
the girls are like that.
Junior high stuff. It really is.
Yeah, it's all very, and all, even like the cliques are all very junior high and stuff like this. What I found a bit weird is, Mikuso Soma, the female lead who was going around, the head killer woman, head killer girl. I mean, when you find out about her life, I mean, she was prostituting from the age of 10.
Yeah, she had a horrible. A lot of them had a horrible backstory. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering if that's was part of the thing. I don't know. Was like a cautionary tale there about youth?
I think it has to do with the Japanese culture anyway. I was in Japan for 2 years, not 2 years, sorry, a year. And I have to sit there and say that, you know, everything is about honor to the family and stuff like this.
Right.
And what you have and what they do is they're expected to excel whatever their specialty is. So basically, if you're a piano player, you excel at that. You are going to be the best piano player ever. You can't just be mediocre.
Right.
If you're good at math, you are, you know, you're exceptional or whatever. You have to be exceptional in whatever, you know, your design in life is. So I think with this Japanese novel, I think a lot of that passes through this novel because that's part of Japanese culture as a whole situation. I do think that, I mean, I find it interesting that this is basically like what we discussed in Dark Shadows with Parallel Time. And that basically, if Japan won the war, this could be the Japan that would be alive today. If they
But it
won
doesn't
the war.
sound like a very. I don't know. I think that I don't think nuclear bombs are good for anybody. But I think that I hate to say westernization because it's just such an awful word because I hate the thought of people westernizing any culture. That this seems like they were better off with that particular than going the way they would have gone, possibly.
Well, I mean, this is a proposed idea because the problem basically is that there really hasn't been a successful fascist government that's ever been put in play.
Right.
Even if you look at Argentina with Peronism and stuff like that, they're always like in short spots sort of thing, but they never last for a long period of time to a point where it actually changes the fabric of society. Even if you look at Spain with Franco or Mussolini in Italy or and stuff like this, and they only last for about, you know, maybe 10, 20 years. I mean, it's long enough, don't get me wrong. Or even if you look at Cuba, where, I mean, that's probably the longest form of dictatorship that you ever had was Fidel Castro in Cuba. That's probably the longest.
They're still struggling in Cuba.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's probably the longest fascism that we've ever seen in the world.
Right.
Normally, fascism don't last that long.
Didn't last long in Italy, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that ended. Well, that was Hitler's, you know, trinity of fascism, wasn't it? Because he had Franco,
Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin. Wait, Stalin was on our side at that time.
Stalin was on our side.
Oh, then Japan.
Yeah, Japan, and that was fascist at the time. So it's really hard to sit there and say what would have happened, you know, 40 years later. Because I mean, this place takes place in the 90s in this parallel time. So it's hard to sit there and say that would Japan be like this in 40 years later.
It's kind of interesting to think of how things would have changed had they not dropped the bomb, you know? How it would have been different for Japan.
Well, I mean, what I find weird, strange about Japan, when you go to Hiroshima anyway, it's kind of bizarre because when they dropped the bomb, everyone turned into a shadow. They're all nothing but shadows of bodies all over the ground and stuff, and they can't get rid of them. They don't wash away or anything. So it's kind of weird that during an atomic bomb blast, that basically this is what's left. It's a little like going to Pompeii and seeing all these thriving, you know, these withering people that are died in like states, and they're like just so they're screaming as the ashes, you know, petrifying them into like eternity. So it's just kind of an odd thing, really. But another thing I find odd about Japan is that after the bomb was dropped, they seem to embrace Americanism a little bit. Not a lot, but enough.
But what they did though in their capitalistic system though is they far exceeded us when it comes to doing it right. Anyway, because they are organized. They really are. And
they're all very, very systematic. And I think that's when you get to the Asian cultures anyway, most Asian cultures are very, very systematic and sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I don't know about culturally how far they're advanced as far as humanitarianism and stuff like this. I think that I think there's probably still, you know, some things that are probably still taboo, but it is very, very, and they're probably a bit more culturally mixed now than what they were at one time. I know when I went there in 89, 90, I remember that basically it's just like, you know, if someone with blonde hair, it's like my friend with blonde hair, and we're walking around, and all these girls are walking behind us and pointing at us again, like TPing behind their hands. And it's probably not like that anymore. You know what I mean? It's, you know,
they're more used to seeing Americans.
Well,
over there.
we're a globalized world now, so therefore there's a lot more. You know, COVID. If we weren't globalized, chances are COVID probably wouldn't have traveled around the world like it did. So it's probably the reason why. What I did like about this novel is Kiriyama. He's the leader of delinquents. About basically, he's like the really good-looking guy, and he basically has his friends. And about how he has no feelings. He's born, and we discussed this when we talked about serial killers in the past. That basically serial killers are a form of emotional blindness within serial killers.
Something like that. Something's broke, you know.
Yeah, but they don't feel anything, and it's something that you're born with, sort of thing. And this is, you know, is a theory based on a psychologist of Jungian proportions. So I like the idea that we had, you know, Kiriyama in this situation where basically like he felt nothing, and then he just killing his friends is for the sport, and he felt more alive then than everything. And I quite like that. It's like a little nod to the whole serial killer thing. So
they called it the number 68 program, and I guess it was 50 kids that they chose or kidnapped, I should say.
They take one class ever thing, and now I mean this is what's quite interesting about the book. When we get into the movie goes in kind of a slight different direction,
a little bit, yeah.
But in the book, basically what you have is that basically when we got Kawada basically discussing it with Sakaguchi about, you know, oh, this is messed up after everything's finished, and he talking about his daughter, how his daughter, you know, is going to be, you know, if she gets picked, you know, she knows it's her duty to the country to take part. And which is quite interesting when you kind of look at the whole situation, is that there probably are families who sit there and think that this is their rite of passage into and for the ideal life within their, you know, in their world. And of course, you know, to stop people from going across to, you know, like Christianity and religion is still a part of their fabric, but the government is the religion as well, that you find out in the book and stuff like that.
Is Sakaguchi, was he the teacher?
He was the head. He's the government official. There's no head teacher. They killed the teacher.
Okay.
In the book, yeah.
Okay, so I got him confused, and I kept thinking he was the teacher for some reason.
No, he was the government official that overlooks the games anyway. So he has no connection to the class in the book whatsoever.
Yeah.
That'd be basically, you know, is that if your class gets, you know, it's chosen, you go on a field trip.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Some FBI or CIA agent that waiting to tell you that this is what you have to do. So
I find it kind of intriguing, though, that Takami wrote this book because he had a dream. You know, it's like, where are all these people getting these dreams? Sort of like Dan Curtis. He dreamt of dark shadows. Boom, there's dark shadows. You know, it's like, why can't I have profitable dreams like this? But
well,
I thought
you
that
can.
was
You just
cool.
gotta learn. Everyone does have profitable dreams. They just have to learn how to write them down.
Yeah, well, yeah. There you have it. But I thought that was interesting.
Take that 10 minutes.
Well, because he was like, I guess he said he was lying in his futon, half asleep and half awake, and he got the mental image of a teacher from a school drama I saw on a TV long ago. All right, class, listen up. Now today I'm going to have you kill each other. He must have been a pleasant fellow to hang out with, don't you think? And he came up with a concept. I guess he went over it with his friends, and they said it sounded like a reimagined pro wrestling battle royale match. And, you know, and I was kind of wondering, it's like, is that where we got the term it's going to be a battle royale, or was it actually wrestling that did the battle royale? But it makes a lot more sense when you think about it. But it is, you know, and I was trying so hard to keep the Hunger Games out of my mind while I was reading this, so much so that I got the audiobook so I could have that too. Because that's seriously the only problem I have with this. An excellent book. It's an easy read. They're short chapters, but I just have that when you get them all together, the names, they kind of keep rolling into each other. And it confused me a little bit. So I think you got to almost, especially if it's like a school assignment, you got to write notes or make sure you got some kind of, you know, to keep it orderly in context. So.
Yeah, did you have when I read, I have the kind of the impression that the students were in the school, but it's like kind of like in this way they were kind of like selected because they didn't have any like strong families. Like for example, no, there was one that his dad has committed suicide, or another one that I don't know. To me, it feels like it was like kind of like a boarding school, when they are there and they're like all the time. I don't know
I
if you
would
have the
say
same impression or not.
I think that basically they just pick like a regular school, and I think, but saying that, I would imagine that they would probably pick poor areas schools than they would pick like the rich schools. So if they're gonna pull a class. I mean, they say that. I mean, they
That's
do
what
say
I was
that.
confused about. I mean, basically, schools are just basic schools over there. I know they got rich schools and they got your regular schools, but was this just a regular random school, or was it something targeted? Because I didn't
No,
get that out of the
apparently
book.
it goes through the speech
Like a
school
lottery?
it goes through a lottery system
Okay.
and what school gets picked. But saying that, I really, it'd be a bit like, let's sit there and say they did it in the States, let's sit there and say, let's take New York City, for instance. And okay, they're gonna do the Battle Royale in New York City. It probably, the schools in Manhattan around Park Avenue, they could be picked, but I doubt that they ever will be picked. It'd probably be someone from the Bronx or the Queens or Brooklyn, or you know what I mean? Because you're not going, because the rich schools and the rich areas are going to be where your government official people live anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like in England, if you're going to do it, like say London, they probably take Kentish Town or Kilburn or something like that. I doubt that a school in Hampstead would ever get picked.
Yeah.
So, that kind of mixes it up there.
I thought it did seem kind of, I wonder why. I mean, none of these kids seem to have like I believe it was maybe Craig said it. None of them really had a good home life or a backstory. It seems like these kids already had a struggle and fight for everything in their life as it was. And I mean, and the ending still kind of confused me for whatever reason. I mean, I didn't understand. Was the girl I got the name. Shogo, was that Shogo Kawada, the transfer student.
Yeah.
He had a girl that he was in love with. Was that a dream, or was he really someone that really he tried to save prior to this when he had already been in this event? Supposedly.
Basically they were, now whether they were in love or anything, again, you're looking at adolescent love here anyway.
Right.
But the thing is that they were together, they knew each other, and they said that they would fight together toward the end. And then someone kills her and he ends up surviving.
Right.
So, and that wasn't what they planned on. So he assumed because she died that he would come back, that if he came back, which he basically figured out what school was going to be called, and he did all the research and he figured out how to basically cheat the system. Unfortunately, he does die at the end of the book, unfortunately. Spoiler alert.
Well, he wants to bring this to its knees and put it to a stop. He has a motivation.
And then another thing we have to remember is that when it comes to students, or anyway, it's students that make the change in the world as we are anyway. It's the students like colleges, stuff who protest. When you get to around our age, we just, TV is a lot nicer if we just sit back and watch it than going out and protest against something, So to make the change, it was like, and that's why, Nariko and Shiya, basically, they make a promise that they will help bring down the government because of this sort of thing.
It doesn't seem like Shogo. He sounds like he led kind of a lonely life too. I mean, all these kids just seem really lonely. I mean, there's really not much going on with the family, and I'm just wondering, was the author trying to represent this?
That's what I meant before. When I asked you if you have the same feeling, and yes.
Well, I mean, the ones who had families anyway. I mean, I think it gives a little bit of telling that basically, like Nariko has family, and basically the government officials, when they take the children, they go to their house, and if their parents fight them about it, they kill the family. If the families are against their kids being in the battle royale arena, the teach because Nanahara basically is in a foster home care home. That's where he's raised, and basically you find out that when she is told that a couple of the students have been chosen for battle royale, the school's been chosen, she goes against the government, and they rape and beat her and leave her for dead.
Right.
And they also find out that one of the other girls, can't remember the main girl, one of the girls' name, that they find out that her parents, the first girl that gets killed, she's hiding at the table and she's trying to call her mother on the mobile, and the mobile gives her away.
Yeah.
And the guy tells her that you can't reach your parents because your parents didn't want you here, so your parents are dead.
Yeah. Oh.
They killed her They killed her family. They killed her family and her little sister because they were opposing for the daughter to be part of this program. So even if you had a family, you have this laying over your family at all times. That basically, the government can come in at any time, and we also have the computer.
That was
person.
Shuya's family, right?
Shuya's family, his father.
Those were the ones that were anti-government.
His father and mother disappeared. That's why he was an orphan. We have the computer guy, and basically his uncle was against, and his uncle left him the tripwire and said that one day you may have to use this, and he disappeared because he was speaking out against government.
Right.
So they all had people. You're living in a state in a world that, put this way, anything you would put on social media, chances are you may not be heard of ever again.
Yeah.
We don't have freedom. You don't have freedom of expression or freedom of speech
or anything. Yeah.
And living in today's world, in the cancer society that we are, this is, I think that's why this book is a bit relevant, because the thing is, it's important that we all have freedom of speech. I might not agree with what you're saying, but you have a right to say it, just as long as you don't incite violence or death upon someone.
Exactly.
But everyone should have, because the thing is, if you cancel someone, and that might be in vogue to cancel people for this at the moment, but what happens if the tide changes, and now all of a sudden this you can't say, or what's popular, what we get canceled for today, means that what you might not be canceled for that tomorrow, so the other group might be targeted, and all that stuff can happen in a blink of an eye. It's a bit like burning books. You can start off burning books, but when do you stop? You can burn Catcher in the Rye, but it won't be long until you finally get to the Bible. It won't be long until you might get up to the Quran or other things, because once you start that censorshipism or censoring people what they say, it's a slippery slope where you go from there.
Yeah. Did you think the characters were kind of static, even though that the story was dynamic around the characters?
I think it had to be static for the simple fact that basically your attention is more on the main characters, because your main characters are the ones that are going to turn the tide and have the ideas about turning the world. The other ones it's like a dodgeball. You have your captain of your dodgeball team, and you have everyone else around them, and then you have like 3 or 4 star players, and the star of the dodgeball tournament, and the 3 people who are very good. That's who you keep your focus on. Everyone else is just fodder. Basically, they're just there to be hit with the ball and be knocked out. But you need them, because without them, you don't really have anything interesting. So I think that's the reason why a lot of your characters kind of go off. You don't have a lot of information. You find out how they die and stuff like this, but you only find out how they die through the main character's eyes. So everyone, it's a bit like watching a Friday the 13th film or a Halloween film or a slasher film, that you're only really interested in the final girl, and maybe a guy or whatever is going to help that person get to the end. Everyone else is there for body count. So it's like, it's like, let's take Friday the 13th part
5.
Let's take part 5. Basically, you have your main girl and everyone else in there. You're interested in the gory deaths, because that's exciting to watch. But you can't. By the end of the movie, you don't know who any of these people are. You can't remember their character names or anything. They're just there for fodder. They're just there for the murder sequence.
They're all the red shirts.
Precisely. And that's what Battle Royale is, basically. It's just like, you have your 5 main characters, and it's, you have the female killer and the male killer, and so you see all the murders going through their eyes because they're the ones doing most of the killing. And then the other killings that you do see are through Shaya Kawada and Nariko's eyes and how they're there. But you don't really see, and they seem to be in places where the murders are coming, or they're coming across the murders. Oh, and the computer people as well, because they're trying to break down the government. So you have that story going on at the same time. Well, so when you look at the murders, the only murder that really is outside of it is the couples who commit suicide. The boy and
Yeah,
girl
and I mean,
commit
the
suicide.
talk about starting it off with a bang, they weren't even going to deal with that at all. I wasn't really expecting the characters to jump. I thought, they were going to have a moment,
Here's a question for you. What would you do if you were in their shoes? I'll start out with you, Leandro. Let's sit there and say the government put you on an island and you got to fight to survive. You either die and if you don't do it in a time limit or you refuse to do it, you're going to die anyway because the thing around your neck is going to explode.
just put yourself in LA and you need a tank of gas.
I think it's really hard because probably, I don't know. I mean, it's 2 things. You could say, okay, if I'm in that situation, is me or the other, I will kill. But it's not until you are in that situation that probably you will find yourself at the moment when you have to do it. Probably you won't be able to do it because one thing is saying, and the other thing is actually have a knife in your hand and actually kill someone and live with that image all the time after. So it's a really hard question, but probably I would like. It also depends which gun you are. You
Hopefully you don't get the trash can lid.
I know, I don't want a trash can lid. Talk about a lame freaking whatever, Like, get the kid a friggin' weapon. But it did turn out to be useful, so.
Yeah. So because I don't know, it depends if they give you a weapon that I don't know, maybe you have to be really smart about using it to then be able to catch someone and so yeah. Tricky question. What about you?
It's kind of a weird situation because, and this is what I think the book points out very, very well, is that you have everyone who doesn't want to take part, but unfortunately you have 2 people who are taking part. And if someone's coming at you, because if you look at the students in general, none of them really wanted to take part in this.
Yeah.
And the ones who did end up taking part is because they were very, very scared and they're just like running around. But the 2 that basically is what are making people take part are the female killer and the male killer. And if they're coming at you, you're going to have to try to defend yourself.
You don't have a choice. You really don't.
Have a choice. So this game that you don't want to play, you end up playing.
Yeah, you're almost forced into it.
And I think that becomes very, very evident. And then as time goes on, your lack of sleep and stuff like this. And then I think this is what's clever about the novel as well, that we find out when Shoya is rescued and brought to the lighthouse with the 5 girls. Yeah. And then
that was my favorite scene in the book and in the movie. Out of all of them, the chaos that ensued, I loved it.
Well, it all takes is basically the one girl dies from poisoning, and all of a sudden it's like the paranoia. They all turn on each other, and all of them dead.
And that's probably what would happen, speaking psychologically, because you really get to sit around and trust everybody. You got like a day left, and you really honestly that you want to live. I mean, let's face it, survival kicks in, skills kick in, your nature kicks in. I mean, if it comes right down to it, I mean, you're forced to. What do you do? I mean, I doubt I would off myself. I would probably give it hell and take out the people I hated first.
Well, even with Kawada, I mean, with Kawada and Shoya and Nariko, they're hanging around together, but you don't, at any time, you feel like Kawada could just.
I know. I was surprised that he turned out to be. He was a decent person. He turned out, but I mean, you always wondered when you're reading. I mean, because there's these two kids are so trusting, and they show that in the movie too. They're trusting babies. They really are. They're just babies, and they trust this older boy. And you don't know if you can trust him, but they don't know how to be any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is like, it's like the four of us could be stuck on this island, and there might be like 20 other people, and we could stick together. But when the last half hour comes,
right,
and only one of us has to be there, what happens then? Because if all four of you are living, your collar's going to explode anyway.
That's sort of like when I used to watch Survivor back in the day when it was kind of a decent show, and everybody would form their alliance, and I go, God, how is this going to go down? Because eventually they're going to have to fuck somebody over here. Yeah. Eventually you do. So
and what about you, Craig? What about yourself, Craig? How would you react if you're thrown into this?
Probably become a cannibal. Probably find the biggest gun. Then I'd have to train myself how to use it. So by the time I've learned how to use it, I've run out of bullets.
You might surprise yourself.
I would probably end up killing the people I dislike first, and then.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it was coming down to me and Keith, it's definitely Keith.
I say this before. People think of that. I would be a serial killer if I wasn't so bloody lazy. There's a lot of work to be a serial killer.
When you think about it, there is a lot of work that goes into serial killing. I mean, you got to plan.
Cover your tracks.
You got to find who you want. You got to figure out where you're going to drop the body. You got all that digging. Where the
CCTV is.
You got to write all those letters to the media.
Yeah, cleaning up, trying to get rid of all the bloodstains everywhere.
It is too much work. No, that's not a profession I need.
I think the worst serial killer in the world is a serial killer with carpet. So let's rate this book from 1 to 5. So starting with you, Vix, what would you give Battle Royale?
I'd probably give it a 5. Actually, I'd give it a 4.5, only because I suck at Japanese names. But it's an excellent book. It's a short read. It really is good, and it's a thought provoker for sure.
What about yourself, Leandro?
Well, I was thinking today, it was a bit tough because it's not a horror book. It's just, for me, it's like a organized game of killing, right? And basically, I mean, you read it to know what's going to happen, but it's nothing like in the other book that you couldn't explain, and then you know what happened at the end. So I would rate it with probably 4.
What about yourself, Craig?
I'll give it a 5 because I enjoyed the countdown of people dying in each chapter.
You like the kill.
Yeah, it's sort of.
What do you actually like, Craig? You got me wondering now.
It sort of finished off each chapter. It was like, oh, okay, another one's gone. Oh, we're getting down lower and lower.
9 kids left, yeah. Down to 9 students.
Yeah, it was.
I'm going to give it 5 stars because this is the second time I actually read it. I read this book back when the film first came out, and rereading it, I actually enjoyed it more now because I actually paid more attention. It did take me. I started reading it. I finished it. It took me a little bit longer to read because I was kind of like savoring every single chapter as well. it wasn't something I was just reading.
Well, it wasn't long chapters. I mean, the book was long, but when you get those intermittent breaks, it makes it easier. It really does, because you feel like you got somewhere, even though it's really thick.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed this, so I'm going to give it a 5-star. This brings us to Battle Royale, which is a 2000 Japanese action thriller film directed by Kanju Fukasu and a screenplay written by Kenta Fukasu, based on the 1999 novel by Koushun Takami, starring Tatsu Fashiwa, Aki Maeda, Tairo Yamakado, and Takeshi Kitano. I'm sorry for anyone who knows Japanese. I'm sure I just butchered every single word.
Yes, he did. He totally butchered it. Please forgive.
The film follows a group of junior high school students that are forced to fight to the death by Japanese totalitarian government. The film drew controversy and was banned or excluded from distribution in several countries. Toei Company refused to sell the film to any United States distributor for over a decade due to concerns about potential controversy and lawsuits until Anchor Bay Entertainment eventually acquired the film in 2010 for a direct-to-video release. The film was first screened in Tokyo on more than 200 screens on December 16, 2000, with an R15 plus rating, which is rarely used in Japan. It was the highest grossing Japanese language film for 6 weeks after its initial release, and was later released in 22 countries worldwide, grossing over $30 million in 10 countries. The film earned critical acclaim, and especially with its DVD releases, drew a large global cult following. It is often regarded as one of Fukaku's best films, and one of the best films of the 2000s. In 2009, filmmaker Quentin Tarantino praised Battle Royale as his favorite film of the past 2 decades. Battle Royale was the last film to be directed by Fukasu because he would die. He also started working on the sequel titled Battle Royale 2 Requiem, which is available on Shudder, but died of prostate cancer on January 12, 2003 after shooting only one scene with Kitano. His son, Kata Fukasu, who wrote the screenplay for both films, completed the film in 2003. Battle Royale became a cultural phenomenon and was considered one of the most influential films in recent decades, having been highly influential in global popular culture. Since the film's release, the term Battle Royale has been defined to refer to the financial narrative genre and a mode of entertainment inspired by the film, where a select group of people are instructed to kill each other off until there's a triumph survivor. It's inspired numerous media, including films, books, animation, comics, television shows, visual novels, and video games. The Battle Royale game genre, for example, is based on the film's concept, and because of Fortnite, Battle Royale is very much alive today. What we're going to do is cut to the trailer, and we'll be back to discuss the film Battle Royale from 2000.
俺たちの義務教育も終わろうとしていた。
一体何なんですか？
この国はバトルロワイヤル。そこで今日は皆さんにちょっと殺し合いをしてもらいます。最後の一人になるまでです。
ではこれからお姉さんがルールについて説明します。
じゃあお前。俺はこのクソゲームの生き残りや。
私たち明日死ぬんだよね。
他にやる気のやつが何をおろ思てんねん。人生はゲームです。みんなは必死になって戦って生き残る価値のある大人になりましょう。
人にはいろいろ事情があるの。
どうしてみんな簡単に殺し合うんだよ。
最後まで諦めちゃダメだよ。私一体どうすればいいの？死ねばいいの。
Hello, welcome back to the podcast. We're discussing Battle Royale for 2000. Starting with you, Leandro. What are your thoughts of Battle Royale, the film?
Well, I really, really enjoy it. First time. Well, it's not the first time I have seen a movie, Japanese movie, I think, but I haven't seen a lot. I like how, well, as Craig said, the way the killings are happening, like really like cold blood, no like I'm
You
going
get
to
a moment,
kill you.
do ya?
Yeah, it just straight to the point. Like, for example, when the professor grab a knife and throw it to the in the middle of the forehead to one of the students, no. And then he said, well, I shouldn't be doing that, but well.
He was funny.
Yes.
I kind of enjoyed his presence in the movie quite a bit.
That's when you feel how serious the whole situation is, and it's not just a hoax or this is the real thing, and you could die at any moment, and we're gonna. Here's no one's safe.
Yeah, and then there was like finally, like for example, then when they were all together in the classroom, and then they were start to like for moments they were like losing the plot, and then he was saying, "Well, okay, come on, let's go back, let's carry on with what we have to do." Right? It's like it seems like I don't know that everyone going to stand up and reveal, and then I don't know, let's say a case was about to start. He shoot someone, then go back to where they were. I really enjoy how they were like going from like sometimes from one place to the other. It's like, and then it's like there were a few moments that it's like kind of like they were going back to this the story and then carry on. Like for example, there was one part that you were watching a scene of one person killing the other, but then the movie carried on then there was let's say the moment of one of the students, and then she have seen how one has killed the other, but you haven't seen in the first place because she was hidden in the bushes. So that was, to me, like that was really, really cool. For me, what was a bit strange was the end, because for me, it's like a kind of like, okay, this is how the movie ended, but then it's like, remind me to, what was the name of the movie? With Mike Myers and another, Wayne's World.
Wayne's World.
Yeah, that is like, you have the movie and then you have three endings and you can choose which one would you like.
Yeah.
So that for me was like, well, hold on. But no, I really, really enjoyed the movie. It's really cool. And as Vicky says, it was really hard because I've never heard about this movie or book, and I have seen the Hunger Games, and it's like, it's really hard to not to when I was, for example, reading the book or when I was watching the movie, to compare, but it's like the mind works like that, it's like, okay, this is similar.
The Hunger Games is far more glamorized.
Yes. For when they're in the island and they say, okay, if you're staying still and you're not moving, the thing in the neck will let us know and they will make it explode. So that was the part that was like, okay, well, what's going to happen now? They're staying in the house. Are they going to die or not? So yeah, but really interesting movie. I like it.
What about yourself, Craig? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed the film. My favorite my favorite scene was the shootout. I've got to get the name. When Yuka eats the poison food.
Yeah, that was my favorite part too.
It's just great, man. It was like a bloodbath.
Massive chaos, and then the guy was under the table.
That's it. And it made me think of the poison berries in the Hunger Games as well.
Yeah.
I like the teacher a lot. I don't know why. He was an
asshole, but a lovable let. You have to admit, yeah.
He was dressed like... I
loved how he wouldn't die in the end. You thought he was dead, then he just gets up.
He was like a beige wearing someone from a soap opera from like the 90s or 80s or 90s. Possibly, the way he was dressed, just he looked like a dad, or a typical uncle or something, you know. And
well, didn't he have fatherly feelings toward our main character? You know, that was weird.
Well, I don't know if it was fatherly figures, but I think what it is that, see, the movie...
Or is it a culture thing where they call someone uncle, but they're just family friend or close relative or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie changes some of the books slightly with the simple fact that we're no longer living in a totalitarian government. I mean, it's kind of there, but now, instead of just picking a random school, they pick schools full of kids who are very unruly. So, you know, these are like kids who are like, you know, act very badly. You know, that's what we have in the movie version. You know, we have,
right.
And, you know, remember all the kids didn't show up for school, and Nariko shows up for school. And that's where they get the connection between the teacher and her, because she showed up and he took her out for ice cream, and he realized that she's quite a nice person, and she's quite an innocent person.
Right.
Where everyone else in his class, he just thought he had a school full of assholes. That's how
in the beginning, though, just like Craig, when you watched the beginning and you saw the little girl, did you guys think that she was the winner of the prior games, right? The little girl with the doll. Yeah. She was a creepy little shit, wasn't she? She must have been all of 7, maybe.
Well, another thing that's quite interesting is, and this is what you kind of get in the movie, they don't get in the book, is the way the media portrays this. Oh, look at her. We have a winner. Yay. Oh, look, she's smiling. It's like, this is a girl who's basically like just
covered in blood,
got the worst case of PTSD that you're ever going to see. And she's smiling. It's like,
no fireworks for you.
She just survived the mass murder of 42 kids. It's like, you know,
at the same
never
time,
quite
it's
sure
like,
where she was.
I found it like they're like 14, 15, but sometimes they're like behaving like they're like younger than that.
I think in the movie, I think the reason why you get that, because they probably are. I think
kids.
That the oldest actor is 25, and they're supposed to be playing 14 to 15-year-olds, and only 4 of the cast were 15 to 16-year-olds, and everyone else was like in their early, you know, late teens, early 20s. So they're trying to act like they're younger. So I think that's probably why you get that in the film, sort of thing. You know, I mean, you know, it's a bit like if you think of what's his name, the main killer guy, Kerry. Oh, God's name, I've been saying it so much. I think Kariyama, the main guy who's going around killing. He looks a lot older than the rest.
That's what I've said. I mean, he looks like he's like 24, easy.
Well, they made him a transfer student as well, which is kind of weird.
Yes.
And then Kawada is a transfer student, and he looks about 24, 25.
I was just thinking, well, maybe they're seniors, you know? I mean, but why would they put them in with the same age group? I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, Kawada in the book, I mean, he would be a year older because he participated in games, and then because he had to go back a grade, didn't he, because of the games. And in the book, they do the games twice a year. In the movie, they do them once a year. So,
is it twice a year in the book?
Twice a year in the book, yeah.
And the teacher, Takeshi Kitano, I've just seen, he was the real life host of Takeshi's Castle.
Oh, so he was a game show
in real life, yeah.
Well, this suited him perfectly. They couldn't have nailed it better. I thought he was entertaining as hell, tell you the truth. I thought he was, you know what I did do, I found a dubbing. I found it so much easier to read the subtitles that you pay attention to the dubbing. Yeah. That was making me flipping crazy. I couldn't do it because the Japanese
dubbing is always bad.
I had subtitles.
Well, it's terrible. And it's just like, you know, find somebody that does anime at least do the voice, something, you know. But I mean, it made more sense in the Japanese version with the language and everything, much more riveting. It ruins it when you have this, when they put this dubbing in, it ruins the movie. I like the subtitling a whole lot better and just listening to the Japanese because it ruins it.
I agree.
They cast 6,000 actors and put them through a physical regime and then
I believe it.
Whittled it down to 42.
They'd go big or go home in Japan. Can you imagine working for one of their companies?
It was a snuff movie. They make
you exercise first thing in the morning. They actually do that stuff.
It was a real life snuff movie. They actually killed 800.
Well, You did
They
recognize one of
probably
the lead
Takeshi's
killer.
Castle.
Well, the lead killer actress,
They have no
the
filters,
girl who's
right?
going around, Kawu Sabaski. You do recognize her, don't you?
He
Kill
looks
Bill.
familiar.
She was in Kill
Oh,
Bill.
yeah.
The Japanese girl with the ball
Yeah.
going after Uma Thurman.
Who
in the
was
hotel.
that? Who was that?
She played Suma, the main girl who's going around killing everyone. The one with the sickle and went through the poor girl's
But I mean,
neck.
she looks familiar. And wait, now not her, but the one that was doing when they showed the video, she looks so familiar that it's making me crazy. And I just know I've seen her somewhere.
I love the video where they kind of explaining the rules of the game, and that was so well done. She's like really happy.
It's like yes, and you have water,
And
you
if you
have
don't move,
food,
you
you
explode
have
and bang!
woohoo! Get out there and kill your classmates.
When their throats exploded, I was like, oh.
Kill your classmates! Wahoo!
Yeah, that for me was really interesting. Is like the game the game is about killing, but the way the lady explained the game to me is like a bit like childish.
Yeah.
The only complaint I have between the book and the movie, and the book complements the movie and the movie complements the book, so it's good. The only thing I really didn't like is that where they decide to pick a class that's unruly, because what that does is in the book take this innocent class and they're just normal kids and they put them in this game situation. But in the movie, because they're unruly kids, you kind of think, well, like maybe they deserve it a little bit because they're mean kids, like they got attitudes and they're like,
especially that little shit that stabs the teacher at the beginning and how he dies. Like nobody had it better coming than that little turd, And he hated him too, so you knew that he was probably gonna get taken out. And he skips school, and the dumbass comes to school the one day they have a field trip.
Well, that's where his best friend has a guilt trip throughout the home. Because in the book, basically, Shogo and Nara are really close friends. And so none of this happens. So and he's in love with Nariko, isn't he? So he protects Nariko, and that's the reason why, because he gets shot.
Well, but he said
he's a little shit. So when his camera when his thing explodes, it's kind of like, well, you no longer have that whole thing where it's like, oh, and the book is quite shocking because he died because you weren't expecting him to die. He did.
What
in the
other
movie, it's like, well,
did they have that stupid thing on their neck? I can't remember. There was another movie, maybe Logan's Run or something. I don't know. I can't remember now.
They had one in Masters of the Universe, I think.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
And they clamped the neck.
I've seen it before with maybe Star Trek, but someone had those stupid things around their neck.
I tell you what's interesting is the sequel to this is very good.
The book. Well, I was reading. I was going to watch it. I might actually watch it because I'm everybody's out of the house. But it got such bad reviews. The second movie.
I liked it. I didn't like it when I first saw it, but I did watch it again. I watched it again, and I like it because it kind of takes it because he's trying to break down the government. So you get these classes, and what they do is they have to go in pairs. And one boy and one girl, and they're in pairs. And the thing is, if one of them dies, the other one dies automatically. Sometimes you have to make sure to keep each other alive. But the government's using them to take down Nahara. That's what they're using. So it's quite interesting from that standpoint. But yeah, it doesn't have there are some slow bits, and it doesn't have the flow that this one has. But
that's what they said. They said there was like a continuity issue with a lot of it.
Yeah. So, but
they said it lacked the interaction that the first movie had. And being that I haven't seen the second one, I don't know because there's 3 of them on Tubi. You got the first one, and there's 2 other movies.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen the second one, but I thought it'd be worthwhile. I really enjoyed the first one. I'd like to see what happens to the characters. So,
I mean, I hate to say this, but thank God that high school shootings became popular in America, because if they didn't, this would have had an American remake.
They won't remake any of this stuff. Well, they did the Hunger Games. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, but if you notice with the Hunger Games is so blurry that half the time you don't even know what the hell's going on. I mean, I like the Hunger Games movie.
I love the Hunger Games. I love it.
But when the killings are going on, they're like, it's like,
well,
and
it goes
the
quick,
person's
but
dead, and you're like, okay.
Well, you know who the bad guys are in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, but I felt cheated. I wanted to see the kids die. You don't see them die. You don't see any death in it. You see after
in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, you don't see them. You don't see them killing anyone.
I don't know.
You see them aiming for them, and then you see the body fall, but you don't see any contact being hit.
Ah, shit! Now I got to YouTube a couple.
Yeah, and because they made it for kids. They made it a PG.
I don't remember. It's rated. Wait, is it a strong PG-13 or something? I've got to look.
It's a PG film because the Hunger Games is a set of teen novels. They're young adult fiction. That's what the books are.
Well, did you notice?
The books are more graphic than the movie. So I was kind of
Catching Fire
because it wasn't.
Well, in the beginning of the movie, it intrigues you already because when somebody says this is really gory and you shouldn't watch it, that's just like, oh, that's just a challenge at that point. I didn't think it was really gory, but I thought that the kills were really good and the bloodletting was pretty spectacular. I thought they did a good job with their kills in here. And they were pretty realistic, like especially you got these little girls in their freaking school shirts and they are getting oozied up and shot. Then you got those two on the hill going, let's all work together.
Let's all be friends. Let's all become Teletubbies, become friends.
Big mistake. You know, it's just like, oh man, who's going to stand out there in the middle of the hill and start screaming except a kid? Because they're so innocent, they don't realize, yeah, they're going to die one way or the other. And they got those two, and you got the one who's obviously the different colored hair. I cannot pronounce his name. Who was that?
Yeah,
the other bad boy.
Yeah.
And then you got that bad girl, and she's just bad. I mean, I thought she was worse than the boys. She was just sinister and scary as hell. She was just mean.
Well, she was actually worse in the book, though. In the book, I mean, she'd be like,
she was bloodthirsty.
Well, she would flirt with the guys, and then
take off her shirt, get them like halfway there, and then boop. You know.
And the thing is, I mean, they did show they didn't show the killing in the movie, but you did see like those two naked boys, and basically their penises were cut off. You remember they saw the body? That was her. It's like, okay.
Well, you know, at least she's got a gig. You know, she's thematic. I'll give her that. Yeah. She's got it going on. She's got Elena Bobbitt stuff going on, but
she hasn't had a meat veg in a while.
I found it quite weird that basically he goes out onto the field and gives her an umbrella. That was weird.
Well, I felt bad. That little girl, she's in there and she goes, "Is that your weapon?" And it's just like that little girl is so innocent. She's looking at pictures of her crushes. The word crush kept coming out so much. Crush. Yeah. I haven't heard the word crush. I don't even know if I heard it that much in grade school. Apparently, it's a big word in Japan. Crush.
Well, I mean, I thought it was funny that basically it's like when they rescue Shoya and he's in the lighthouse and he wakes up and he's like, you know, he wakes up and she's like, she goes, oh, I got to take off all your clothes.
I've never seen a man before.
I took it off all your clothes.
I know. She's like, I've never seen a man before.
Like, what else did you do while you're out?
No shit. But then, you know, he's sitting there thinking he's all safe and all these crazy bitches are shooting each other up in the kitchen and they got him locked in the room. He can't get out. But I mean, it was sad, but it was funny. But all over that, she poisoned the wrong. Well, she took the food that had the poison in it. You know, and I assume that cyanide poisoning is probably not a pretty thing to watch.
Well, that pretty much tells basically like here you got all these girls working together, and all it takes is one.
That's it.
One mishap, and they just all turned on each other in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, it was, and she was okay. The girl that did the poisoning was initially mad because the other boy had accidentally killed the other boy with the axe. Wasn't that an accidental thing? They rolled down the hill together. But she was
they rolled down the hill, and she thought that he killed him. Sort of thing.
Right.
So,
what for me was really bizarre is like, there was one man dressing with a black suit,
Mm-hmm.
and he have I don't know the name of the gun. It's the one that shoots tons of times.
Yeah, Tekiyama.
And he was shooting and shooting. I thought, how many bullets does that?
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting. Also, I mean, in the book and in the film, basically, if once you kill someone, you can pick up their weapons, so you start accumulating weapons as well.
I would have done. I would have picked up everything. I mean, there's just not enough weapons to have because these kids all get really vicious. And I mean,
but if you
self-preservation kicks in quick.
Yeah, but you need to collect all the guns that you can, but then you have to carry them. So it's like you have to be selective on what you're good at and what is like really powerful to kill.
Well, the funny thing is that I'm writing for Fallout 5 at the moment. So I'm playing Fallout 76 at the moment. And so, I spend like 2 or 3 hours a night just to make sure I, get into the spirit of it. So when I sit down and write for 4 hours, I know what I'm writing. And the thing is, when you kill things in there, you have to pick up their guns. You have to keep picking up their guns, and my character in this game gets so weighed down that I'm always have to scrap everything just so I can build better guns. And I'm like, but yeah, you're right. It's like you get weighed down, but the more people you kill, the more weighed down you get. So because I'm doing it in my game at the moment, so
right,
I feel the pain. So let's sit there and rate the game very quickly because Leandro's got to go off to his course real quick. So let's get through this. So starting with you, Craig, what are you going to rate this on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'll give this 5 Mockingjays out of 5.
5 Mockingjays, all right.
What about yourself, Leandro? What do you rate this?
Yeah, 5.
And yourself, Vix?
Big 5. Awesome movie. Loved it.
And one final question. Do you prefer the book to the novel, or do you like them equally as well? Starting with you, Vix.
I like them both. I thought the book didn't reflect. The book reflects everything that you really want to know about the characters in the movie. It's a good read. It is a good read. Just be ready to take notes.
What about yourself, Leandro? Do you prefer the book to the film to the book, or do you like them equal?
The book.
What about yourself, Craig?
I like them equally, but I think if you want to learn about the characters, then read the book because you get a bit more back history.
Yeah, more
very,
backstory.
A smidgen of it, but yeah. And if you just want kill on kill, then the movie's great as well.
Obviously, Craig's all over killing, so.
I'm going to give the film 5-star rating. What I'm going to also say is that I think this is one of the rare occurrences where the book and the film well are companion pieces with each other.
They definitely complement each other in this instance. They definitely.
I do sit there and say I was dating when this movie came out, and I took someone on the date for this, and after they watched this movie, I don't think they looked at me in the same way ever again.
They probably thought you were an asshole. That's not a real romantic thing to do. Take someone on a date to a killing movie with children. Might as well take them to a school shooting, Keith. Jesus.
Where can I get tickets for that? I want to see that, actually. I want tickets for that. Well, this brings us to the end of the Literary License Podcast. Next month, our book The Screams will be James Herbert's The Rats and the questionable film called Deadly Eyes, which that will be an interesting conversation. Next week, of course, our remake session will be the French film La Cage aux Folles from the 1970s, and we'll be covering The Birdcage, which is the American remake starring Robin Williams.
Love that movie.
Our 80s films will be covering Society, which is about the rich sucking off the poor. And
Literally.
literally.
I'm still trying to get over that. I haven't seen that before, by the way. I'm still trying to get over it and recover. I was not expecting that.
And another film that came out the same year is a film about parents, which is set in the 50s about a group of parents who basically like to kill people so they can eat them and make sure they have a well-balanced 50s diet.
That's right.
And of course, Dark Shadows will be continuing our episodes. We'll be going up to 10/7. And we're coming to the end of that. So we're coming to the end of our Dark Shadows retrospective. So it's good night for myself and good night, Vicky.
Night, everybody. Take care of each other.
Good night, Leandro.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Craig.
Good night, everybody.
And we'll see you next week for La Casa 4 and the first week. And the next week is River in the Left.
Pain ain't gonna put it away. That's why you stay deep in my prayers. For so long I waited on you. When with the light till it was true.